bigyan kaya siya ng giya.
Baba pa yung basket, baba pa.
So
now you need to do introductions. So like start from the start.
Yeah, we are Ken and Seville from Sailing Aquarius. It's going to be on our channel, so not many introductions needed for us. But Kim is from Heki, and Kim was sailing. We were supposed to get together, and Kim, you want to take over?
Yeah, we were supposed to meet at Socrata, but I didn't go all the way. I missed 254 miles or so and had to leave my boat and got rescued by a tanker. So that was a terrible experience. But the story is I started from Seychelles at the 10th of September in the morning, 9:30 in the morning. I should have brought a crew with 2 guys, but suddenly they want too much of me. And I said, no way, I go alone. And then I started and I had good sailing for 3.5 days. And after 3.5 days, I was only sailing with a general because I don't want to go out to the mainsail and when I'm alone at the boat. But in the night, I had a thunderstorm, and before I could turn the boat up in the wind and get the sail in, it was torn apart. So I started the engine, and then I did go for engine until the sun came up, and then I went out and pulled up my mainsail, put my lines on and my harness, and went out and took all the ropes off and get it up. 2 hours later, it came down with a rush. The shackle was broken. And the halyard was up in 20 meters up in the mast. So no more sailing for sail. Then I started the engine. And it went quite good. The engine was going well. And I twice, every 10, 12 hours, I shut it off for 15 minutes and went down and talked with it and pet it a little bit and give it a little bit of oil, and was very reliable and was going. But I think it was the night after I started to go for engine, I could hear I had something in my propeller. It was not going around. So that was the only time when I was sailing solo. I wish we had been one more guy because I needed to take a rope around me. There was 2 meters of swells and waves. And then I took a diver's mask on and a knife in the mouth and a light in my right hand, and the other one I used up against the boat to go up and then jump in the ocean. And it was some seaweed or something. I could just take it away. But that was scary, being there in the night and the boat was jumping up and down. But I only had the engine and I was drifting and turning around. If I don't have propeller going, you just go to everywhere. But then the propeller was going again and I was sailing, and it went good for almost 4 more days. In the middle of the night, I think around 2:30 or something, I could hear the gearbox screaming. And then I went to take it out of gear, but I couldn't take it out of gear. It was all locked. And then I knew it was over. Then I was drifting, and then I took my sat phone, and I think we also had some text. I can't remember if that was in the morning but I called the Danish Coast Guard, and the Danish Coast Guard said to me, the first thing he said, Kim, you are in a place you shouldn't be. I said, okay, Martin, let's take this discussion another day. Just see what you can do for me. And then he would try to see and call. He had some number he could call the American Navy and see if they had some warships that could come to rescue. And there was some emergency number in Bahrain, some organization that also do some rescue. And then he would call me back. Then I think 1 hour, 2 hours went, I was just drifting and jumping around. He called me and said, the Americans don't have anything near you. And Bahrain is not answering the phone, the emergency number. So he said he will try and call them again in the morning and see what he could do. And then after, I think, 9 hours, somebody reacted on my distress call on my VHF radio. I pushed the button and sent out the signal for 9 hours. And suddenly there was a ship called Neptune, a big car carrier, that called me and said what my distress was. And I told him I was disabled with sails and no engine, just drifting around. But he was 30 meters high, so he couldn't go to my rescue. So he would stay in the area, as he said, but he would stay 2-3 miles from me because he was afraid to go too close because the weather was not good. And then after, I think, 2 more hours drifting, he called me and said he had been in contact with an oil tanker called Riviera II, and they were 5 hours away, but they will come to the rescue. So I was a relief man. I knew there was somebody coming, but I will also know that rescue at sea is not so successful as we would like it to be in these conditions with 6 meters of swells. But I kept up the good spirit, and in the morning when it got light, yeah, it's hard for me to say this, but I got a message from my daughter. And she said, "Good morning, Dad. Everything okay?" And then I sat for 5 minutes thinking about what to do. Then I took my sat phone and called my daughter and said, "No, everything's not good." And I told her the story that I'm drifting, but somebody is coming to rescue me. And I promised her that I will be back home again. So that was hard. But
That it was hard.
yeah, it was very hard. And it's also hard for me to talk about now. But it's getting better.
You had called me as well, and there's really nothing we could do because we had already left Socotra and we were moving on.
Yeah.
We were afraid, because we hit 50-knot winds, and we were thinking, how are you gonna, get around that corner with just the engine in 50-knot winds? That would have been tough as well, even if you made it that far. Up to Socotra, because Socotra, until I guess October 10th is when the tips have no wind. But you were coming into a lot of wind, and it got worse from where you are to Socotra. It would have been worse.
Yeah.
So,
and it was worse enough where I was at the moment. Yeah. Suddenly I saw that tanker coming, and I got in contact with him over the VHF. I had a little handhold one I had in the cockpit. And then the captain said he would go around me and go to the side, so I should drift slowly into him, and they would take down a rescue net from a crane. And then it's so scary when you are in my boat was 48 feet, your boat is 52 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
see 180 meters of tankers, 12 meters high, coming towards you so close, and you're drifting over to him. And it was so scary, so scary. But I also knew, and that's also one of the things I promised my daughter I will come back home. And it was also hard because the first thing the captain said to me before we started the rescue, it was to get the contact numbers on my family. And when I gave him the contact number over the radio, I was thinking, hell no, I'm coming back. Nobody should call my children and say that their daddy is lost.
Those rescues aren't always rescues. A good friend of mine is a captain, and he's actually lost people. He pulled up to save, and they didn't make
Yeah.
it because they couldn't hold on.
And I knew I would have maybe only one chance. And if I hit the water and didn't reach the net, I will be gone. I will probably go between the two ships or under his ship or drift away, and he cannot prefer search and rescue with 180 meters of oil tanker. So I knew if the net was close enough to my boat, jump and keep holding on. And the boat, as you can see in the video, it went to his anchor the wrong way, away from the net, and I was looking up in an anchor that was nearly as big as my boat. And I was thinking, oh no, just know that rigging or the mast get stuck in the anchor and I would be sitting up here. But luckily the boat turned around again, and suddenly it was close to the net, and then I took the chance, and then I jumped in the net, and then you can see the rest in the video. It was a hard beating to get up there.
Did you hit the mast with your leg? How did you injure your leg? It seemed like you hit the mast multiple times. Not the mast, but the Genoa rig.
Yeah, but my leg was mostly hurt by, I was stuck in my own anchor on my own boat. I got my foot in the anchor, and then it's twisted the knee and the ankle, and it tore the thigh muscle apart. But I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel the beating or nothing. I could feel it, but I didn't care because I was just thinking about keep holding on, keep holding on. And I think I got 10 times more muscle power than I normally had.
Adrenaline.
Yeah.
So what advice could you give others if they get in that situation?
To keep your head cold. Keep your head cold. Don't panic. Don't think too much. Just analyze the situation and say, if I get the one chance, the best chance I have, use it. And don't think too much. Afterwards, when I get up on the ship, I used the satellite phone and called my son and said, can you call the Danish Coast Guard and tell them I'm rescued? And they said to my son, they never talked with a guy that was so calm and cool in that situation, because I took it quite cool. And also the captain said to me, Kim, when we were speaking on the VHF radio, you were calm and cool, wasn't you afraid? And I said, no, I promised my family I would come home. And I knew if I would panic or get afraid, then I will not make it. So I think the best way is to stay calm, analyze, take the chance when it's there. And then if it's a net they put down, just grab the net and hang on, no matter how much beaten you get on the way up or anything, just hang on. So And I think I was lucky with also that captain. If you listen to the sound on the radio, he's quite skilled to execute the rescue operation, because he's standing there and he takes to the crane operator. He says, boom in, and takes me in along the ship side, and he's ordering half stern, full stern to get me away from my boat. He was reversing the ship. So I think it was one of I was lucky also with the crew that took me up, because they were skilled. He has done it one time before. He rescued a Australian couple. It's not common for a captain to do two types of rescue at sea like that. So he knew what to do.
How was your ride home on the ship? Because they took you, where'd they take you to after that? India?
Yeah, it was terrible, because I started to call the Danish embassy in New Delhi, and there was a lady there that said, yeah, but I needed to come to the embassy to write, to get put my signature to get a new passport. And then I said, can't you scan my signature in? The captain says it's me that's no, I could not. And then she said I couldn't fly. I couldn't fly, take an airplane from Sika to New Delhi, where the embassy was, because if I don't have any ID papers, I can't go to an aeroplane. But she could make a paper so I could go into India, and then I could take a car to New Delhi. And I said, okay, how far is it? She said 2,000 kilometers I should spend in a car with my bad leg. I struggled with this lady on the embassy. She didn't understand the situation. And she said to me, she said, Kim, we never had a situation like that where Danish citizens come to India without visa, without papers, without money, without anything. It's so unusual. And then I said, if it's so unusual, call our foreign minister and ask him to call Indian's foreign minister. I said, we have a Danish citizen there. How can we get him out? But it took 5 long days. And the ship was 6 hours away from leaving for Durban. She even asked the captain if I could stay on the ship 30 days more and go to Durban in South Africa. But then luckily there's a company called Falk Global Care. My travel insurance took them, and there was a lady called Tina. She took action and said, no way, we got to have Kim home now. And she convinced that lady to scan my signature in. And then she hired a rescue guy from New Delhi. He took an airplane and fly to Sika to get me. And when I got in his car, we drive 4 hours to another airport, and then we flew to New Delhi. And from New Delhi, I flew to Helsinki, from Helsinki to Copenhagen, from Copenhagen to Aalborg. And they want, if I came on crutches, they said to me, if you came on crutches, you need to have a doctor to look at your leg and make a letter for the airplane company, because you can't fly with crutches without you have that letter. I said, I will not go to a doctor in India, because now I want to go home to my family. And then I went without crutches in a normal airplane, in a normal seat, for 10 hours to Helsinki and 1.5 hours to Copenhagen and a half hour to Aalborg. And Monday I came to Aalborg last Saturday evening, when I went to my own doctor Monday morning. She sent me immediately directly to the hospital. And then they found out what damage there was to my leg. And then the doctor said to me, Kim, you said you were walking without crutches in 3 airports, and you said in a normal airplane, you can't do that with that leg. And I said, yes, I could, because I need to go home to my family. So it was a hard ride, but that's what I needed to do.
So how many days on the ship were you before you arrived in India?
7 days.
7 days. How was the ride on the ship when you were, because I think
Oh, they were so low. They were so lonely. It was a Philippine crew, 23 guys. And then when they took me up and they put me in the hospital, and they came with clothes for me, dry clothes, and they treated all my wound and everything. And they gave me a toothbrush and shampoo. And the first 2 days I went down 3 stairs down and sit with the crew and was eating with them. But after 2 days, the adrenaline was out of my body. And in the night, I should go to the toilet. I couldn't get out of the bed because I was beaten. And that leg was so terrible also. So then they treated me and came with food up in the cabin. I had the owner's cabin behind the wheelhouse. So they were so nice. And when I needed to go home, they gave me clothes. The captain gave me some some shoes, you know, with the iron-in work shoes. And I got a brand new jacket from the ship, also a working jacket. And some of the Philippines came with some, I think it was something to sleep in, but I didn't care. I just took it on and traveled to Denmark with it. And the most amazing thing was they collected $500 and gave me.
so they gave
Wow.
you $500.
Yes,
Oh, no.
they felt sorry for me because I lost all and I should go without money. So they were so nice.
How did you lose your bag? It got stuck onto something?
I had it on. I had 2 bags, a little one with clothes and another one with my backpack in. And I wrapped my passport in plastic, my telephone, and I had an iPad and a computer in the backpack also. And then I put it over my shoulder. But when I grabbed the net, the ship was leaning, and then the crane got down, and I got in the water, and it got stuck on the railing on my ship. And when I get up again, it didn't come up.
Yeah, I saw it sitting on the boat in the video.
Yeah, it's on the railing. Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that.
Passport, my iPhone, my iPad, my computer, $3,000 and 2,500 euros. So everything was lost.
But you're okay, and you get to
Yeah,
see
that's
family,
just stuff.
your
Yeah,
grandchild, and I think
Yeah.
that's most important.
yeah.
How was making the decision to leave the boat and get the rescue? How difficult was that? Is just like a clear mind switches on, or just a desire to hold on to?
When I was talking with the Danish Coast Guard, he said, "What about leaving the boat?" I said, "I just leave." I knew it was me or the boat. I couldn't save both because I was drifting, and you can't get someone out to tow you out there. So
Yeah, and you might.
it was not hard. And he said, "I'm glad you're saying that, because every people try to hold to their boat and will like to rescue the boat." And I just said, "Get me off the boat and then let the boat go." Yeah.
Well, that's a very strong, brave decision as well.
Yeah. But you need it in that situation and that place. I was only 188 miles from Somalia's coast, and the wind was southwest, so I was drifting towards Somalia. So there was not so much to think about. Just leave the boat and rescue the life.
Yeah, you can always make more money. You can always buy another boat, but if you lose your
Yeah.
life, it's all over. So
Yeah,
I think you did
that's
the right
correct.
thing.
I promised my daughter in the telephone that I would come back. So that was what was in my mind, that needed to come back and kiss the children and the grandchildren. And I did it. And I had some crazy things you were thinking about when you were sitting out there drifting. We have a store where I usually shop. And I said to myself, if you go in that shop again, you need to smile all over your face because then you're the luckiest guy in the world. But scary to sleep at night. I have nightmares, and when I get out of the bed, the house is rocking and shaking and everything until I get the lights on and see, oh no, you're at home.
Wow.
So I have the insurance. They had put a crisis psychologist on me. He's calling me every second day. And I sent him a link to the video, and he's called me 2 hours later and said, Kim, that's not real what I'm looking at. That's a Hollywood film or something like that. This don't happen for real. So, but I'm talking with him, and I think it helps me a lot, but I'm still having trouble sleeping at night. But I did put a new sign on my Facebook because I knew there were some people that would have that kind of thoughts that, well, why did he do that, and so on and so on. So now I put a sign on my Facebook that said, don't judge me, you can't handle half of what I have survived. So I could maybe have done something with the mainsail, put some line up over the horn and made a little sail or something. But what he told me about that, I knew I couldn't go around there, and then I would end up in some rocks or something like that. So I wouldn't even try. It was better to get rescued if I could.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry this had to happen, but you know, are you ever gonna sail again? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I'm thinking about when this winter, I think maybe in a month or two, I will make a go around to the sailing clubs and talk about 1 hour or 1.5 and show the video and tell them what happened and how I think I survived by.
I appreciate that.
You get better.
Yes. Okay.
All right, Kim. You
Good.
take care.
Yes, same to you. Bye.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.